Hi guys, I'm Pavel, and I have just 5 minutes, so I won't tell any more about myself. Guys, the last topic was about games, and it was awesome. It was tested, mine aren't. But have you ever wanted to write a game? Like, actually, one? Ah, so you're just as me, failed game developers. Awesome. I've done that in every technology I've ever written in, from IRC bot, actually, to Java, Unity with C# and so on. But eventually, I figured I haven't written a game in Ruby on Rails. So have you ever tried with Ruby on Rails? Yes. Awesome, I have to see that. Okay, I'll catch you later on. So let's see how it could look like. It's there? Awesome. So we have a knight, and it has to avoid the dragons and to find the beloved Ruby. Awesome, score 1. So this is a simple game. You can all imagine how it works, but let's try the fun one. Now, still we have this dragon, but now the world is going forward, as in real life. And just FYI, it's not JavaScript. It's all generated on backend, and I'll show you how. So how does it work? Of course, it has endpoints for movements. We all know that. But on top of that, there is a game loop that keeps the game status and makes the state progress. What's a game loop? It's just a process. It's a continuous process that calculates the state and calculates what the next state should be based on the moves, based on the world that is modeled in a game. So how to run such a process? For myself, I'm using this gem, Rails Permanent Job. Well, it's mine, so you can figure I use it. It's, again, a gem for running robust processes easily. I will show you in a second how. But actually, credit is not mine, because it's just a wrapper for something called Server Engine. And that's a framework for implementing robust multi-process server. And it has been presented in RubyKagi in 2014 by Masahiro Nakagawa, all credit to him. And you can watch this presentation in here. It's awesome, it's in Japanese. There are two presentations on Server Engine. The other one is in English, in fact. So go watch it. It's an incredible piece of software, and it's used exactly to implement robust multi-process servers. Why? Why robust? Because they work like this. You define workers. You can define them as processes or as threads. You can add a server on top of that you can communicate with. For example, you can make soft restarts. You can reconfigure your server. And there is a supervisor mechanic. That means if ever your worker fails, and it will, because of memory issues, because of network issues, anything, it will just restart it. Again, an awesome piece of logic. Go watch the presentation. How you use it? Well, I'm not showing Server Engine itself, but for a Rails Permanent Job, you just have to create a class with a call method, and syntax made due to Nick Sutterer from Trailblazer. All props to him, and for just inspiration. And you create yourself, for example, a rake task. You just call Rails Permanent Job, you put the job you want it to handle, and you run it, and you just define on how many workers it should be. So what you get here is this supervision. You don't get that with rake, but with Rails Permanent Job and with Server Engine, for the most part, you get this supervision included. You can put it in a multi-threaded mode, and it's really, really awesome. And how does this work? Well, we have a game loop iteration, this is the job that's going to be processed. So it just loads the board, progresses the state, and saves the board. Therefore, it can show you that board on your screen. And as the rake task, well, game start means reset all the boards, put it in the Rails Permanent Job, and just sleep for 0.3 seconds between the iterations, and here you go. Here we have a game. Guys, before I'm muted, if you have a phone, just scan this QR code and join me in this game. You can click on the white board, and you can move yourself left, right, up, and down. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
Perfect time.
I also started my timer. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to organizers for this conference that was organized here. And I'm here the second time and it is great. Okay, so today we are talking about one specific problem that you can encounter when you actively develop Ruby on Rails application. When you switch to some branch that has data migration that changes schema, and the schema gets inconsistent in terms of another branch. Like from master, you switch to some branch that adds not null column. Then you switch back and you start your test, for example, and starting using application, and you finally get some weird exception inside the test, or just in real time. And basically, it's a frustrating issue, specifically for junior developers because they don't understand what exactly happened. So in order to solve this problem, what we actually need to do is just to get rid of from the database this phantom migration that was applied on the branch. So this should look like, and my point is that why not to create an automatic solution that would do that for us? Like, of course, you can manually solve this issue sometimes, but dropping database and renaming it with data dump. But my point is easy just to keep track of this run migrations inside temp folder, and every time when you switch to some branch, you just have history of all these migrations, and just it's easy to roll back them. So this is the gem that I have created, and so feel free to use it. So installation and configuration not needed, it's easy. I already discovered what is this. It's the implementation details. We keep the run migration inside temp folder, and every time when you switch to some another branch, you just run as usually do railsdb migrate, and you get actual database. So of course, there are some limitations, like it assumes that all migrations are reversible. So sometimes you know that it will not be possible to roll back as easy as this, but yeah, so mostly this implementation will work. So just keep in mind that you have to keep your migrations reversible. So yeah, this is the link to this gem. Feel free to use it. And if you have some questions, and maybe someone already used it, I would appreciate for receiving your feedback and talking about it in real time today at party. Thank you.
Hey guys, so today I'm gonna show you something that you have definitely never seen before, and that will blow your mind. So probably you don't know that if you have Rails application, you can do something like Rails C, which opens a console where you can do something like profile.all. So you can inspect all the data you have in the database. I know, no one knew about that. Yeah, okay, I know, everyone knows that. But a lot of people like that and uses that a lot and likes the output. However, I don't. I actually hate the default output of IRB and active record in particular. Thus, I created a gem which, well, hopefully makes the output a little bit better. So it supports different layouts. If you have like a wide model, wide table, it swaps to horizontal layout, which displays every item on a new line, and each item is separated with those green fancy lines. So it also displays the total count here, and you can customize it and add more data there if you really want. Yeah, that's all. So here's the QR code with the link to the repository. If you want to use it, then go ahead, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Start the repository, right?
Okay, hi everyone. Do you recognize?
Yes.
Queen's Gambit, right? One company made chess popular in the whole world by creating a fictional character. This is the real character, Magnus Carlsen, the Norway world champion. And I actually played him last year. He beaten me. It was online, but still, I was surprised. Anyway, chess became cool recently. I'm surprised. I'm in my chess world for the last 30 years, and suddenly everyone plays chess. That's great. Even those guys play chess. And they get paid for it even more than chess players, probably. So I wanted to present you some tips for programmers and why it's worth to start playing chess. It's very scientific. It's very meritocracy-driven, let's say. If you are wrong or right, let's play. I will prove you. There's measurable progress. So this is my FIDE rating since 2003. You can see, okay, the moments where I played better, worse. I can analyze what went good, what went wrong. You see, 2 years ago, something went really wrong, but then I kind of reinvented myself. There are many ways to improve. This is online tooling. You can see after every online game, you can click learn from your mistakes, and the engine will tell you what you did wrong. It's fantastically now improved, automized. There's fantastic support. There are books, courses playing. You can just play or hire coaches, so lots of ways to improve. Of course, online play is the thing that was mostly popular, especially COVID helped here. There are two main websites, chess.com and Lichess. Both are amazingly good on both mobile and web, so whichever you choose is great. Lichess is fully open source. You can actually try to tweak it if you want. It's Scala. And chess.com, no one knows, but is actually implemented by a Polish guy from Poznań, Piotr Tachtera. Chess is usually the first battlefield for AI. So when we chess players see some AI improvement and progress in other areas, we are like, well, we've seen this in 1997 when Kasparov was beaten by AI. We've seen it with AlphaZero. So we are usually, somehow the big companies also always choose chess to prove that they invented something great. So that's amazing for chess. So currently, we call them actually engines instead of AI, but they are neural networks. It's the most two popular ones is Stockfish and Lila, both open source and both can be, you can tweak them. This is what it looks like. This is my game with Grandmaster Krzysztof Jakubowski. It's from the last weekend in Katowice. We drew. That was a good result for me because he's a Grandmaster. And you can see I can come back to home because we played real, but on a digital chessboard. There are such things right now. It's all connected, immediately transmitted to the internet. So I'm coming back home. I just click. The engine you can see with this is the output of the chess engine. I can see the moves that the chess engine recommends. It was actually a draw because the chess engine says 0, 0, 0, and it says the depth was 51. So it actually calculates 51 half moves ahead. The same problem with AI we have in chess that in other areas. It will tell us what is the best move, but it doesn't tell us why. Some tips for you if you're starting with chess: always start with e4. So the pawn from the king's move, 2 pawns head. Don't try to experiment at the beginning. Then develop the knight, then develop the bishop. That usually leads you to the best setup, and immediately, you can actually look as a professional player. I will not recognize if you play like that you are not a chess player. Then castle. So you hide your king, you castle with the king. In Polish is roszada. So hide your king because king should be safe. And also control the center. Those are the main squares that you need to control, at least 2 or 3 from those squares. Put your pieces very close to there because they have most capabilities when they're around there. So don't put your knights on the edge. That's not a good idea. You can see the rooks. They're always late to the party, but they should be centralized. Learn design patterns, aka chunks. So we have this kind of, let's say, patterns in chess. So every chess player will recognize the greenish part that is fianchetto,
We call it Fianchetto, and everyone knows immediately by one look of eye that this is Fianchetto. We don't remember this bishop g2, there is castle, there's knight d3, this is Fianchetto. Also, the pink setup is called London setup. Everyone knows. So a chess player, when he looks at the chessboard, we recognize in chunks instead of really big, small pieces. So that's something that is worth learning. Also, there is event sourcing in chess, of course, and use Rails event store. Yeah, chess notation is basically event sourcing. So during each game, we write the chess moves on the real board, or if we play online, it's automatically there. It's even, you can see, it's even storing the time of the moves. But the real fun in chess is actually to meet live with Magnus or others, and you can play in chess clubs. In Poland, there is a website called klubszachowy.pl. You can go and find a club in your real world, and also you can play with me if you want on chess.com. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? This talk is not about procrastination. And I procrastinated on this talk and I didn't know what to call it, so I called it procrastination. But I'm procrastinating even during this talk. I'm talking about what this talk is not about during the 5 minutes. So I have a problem. I need therapy, and there's a great opportunity to have therapy in front of I don't know 60 people. It's great. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm not if you think you procrastinate, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm really good at it. I put the pro in procrastination, right? If you do something a lot, you get good. That's me. And one of the things that procrastinators do is they avoid feeling bad about putting off their actual work. By doing something that they kind of can justify is kind of useful. And one of those things that are kind of useful is, procrastinators will take over the world when they unite tomorrow. That's me in 2018. So one of the things that I discovered was when I was kind of trying to work on something and not feel bad about not doing my actual work, was to set up some human-friendly shell aliases in my favorite shell, which is fish. You will see in a second what I mean. Fish is a command line shell. It stands for Friendly Interactive Shell. I really like it because unlike any other shells, I could actually script in it. I don't know, it somehow clicked for my brain. Bash scripts I find horrible, absolutely unreadable. Fish scripts I can read and write, which is great. So whatever works for you, use it. So Git, right? Sometimes you need to make a new branch. Procrastinators do that a lot because before I can start work, I first have to make a new branch, right? And then I think to myself, git switch -c, come on, I don't want to type all that. I need to make an alias. I need to make it faster and easier for me to do. So that's my procrastination loop. So I go to git config and I add an alias, nb for new branch. So it's a mnemonic, easy to remember, nb. Great. Now it's git nb, my branch. Awesome. Life is great. However, I don't want to type git space. That's 4 characters. I wanted to just type one single G and B, git new branch. That's it. That's what I want to type. That's why I make a shell alias. Technically in Fish it's called shell abbreviation, but that's details. I don't have time for the details. Life is great, right? Now it's not only a git alias, now it's a shell alias or shell abbreviation in the case of Fish. Now I type 3 characters and I'm happy. Now, there's 2 problems with that. One is the list of aliases goes really long, and I don't remember them all. But that's fine, because if I don't remember, then I don't use it, and I don't need it, and I don't need to remember. That's fine. But the real problem is, for some of them, I only have the git alias set up, like git p for git pull. For the other, I have shell alias set up, gp for git pull. And now I don't remember which one was it. So obviously, the solution is, why not both? So I wrote a little script that runs in my shell initialization that just parses my git config, takes every git alias, turns it into a shell alias. So I can type either of those things. I can type git wc for what changed. It's a little known useful command in Git. Or I can type gdwc. It doesn't matter. Git what changed. So life is good. But what does this have anything to do with Fish? Like any of this, you could do in any shell. You could do it in Z shell, in Bash, even if you're not cool and still use Bash. Sorry, that was a joke. So the problem is here. I pair program a lot in my company. We have like a convention that we pair program on many things, and especially when I pair program with the junior developer, or with a newbie, or if even show my screen to some non-technical person. If I type the thing on the left, git nb, they're like, what are you doing? What is this? So in Fish, what Fish allows me to do is this. I type my abbreviation, but it expands. So as soon as I hit space, it expands. It types it out for me. It types out the full command, and the command build can be arbitrary length, of course. It types out the full command, like rebase, abort, rebase, non, whatever, and yeah. Fish is love, and this is the documentation for the Fish abbreviation command. Thank you very much. Happy procrastinating.
All right, everyone. Hello. I promised myself that I would do at least one conference talk this year, and it's already September, so I kind of have to do it now. So build your own internal command line tools. Before I begin, hello, this is me. Yes, Michał, and this is my cat. I'm working on helplink. My cat doesn't. Just to give you a brief overview of helplink, we have like 2 full-stack developers, 6 backend developers plus 1 junior, and 6 front-end developers. And this will be a bit important for the rest of the story. And helplink actually runs in multiple countries, and each of those countries we are running a separate application. It's not multi-tenant. And for each of those countries, we actually run 2 applications because we run the client side and the admin separately. And when we are running this code locally, when we were developing, we used to use Vagrant, but then we converted to Docker and Docker Compose for all the great reasons that I'm not going to go into right now because I don't have time. So Vagrant was just a VM. It was easy to just connect there, do Vagrant SSH, and then treat it like it's your local machine, so not a problem. You can run all your Rails commands. But Docker is a bit more complicated. It has multiple containers. It has different syncing strategies on Mac and on Linux. We need to pass the country environment flag because, as mentioned, all those countries run differently. And we also have like our tests container in a separate configuration file, so we are not starting them automatically when we are starting everything else. Probably it can be simplified now. It couldn't be simplified when we were setting this up initially. So because Docker is more complicated, we had a documentation with a bunch of huge commands that you had to copy-paste to actually do anything. And you can probably guess that copy-pasting commands from Confluence is not a good developer experience. So we created our own internal tool called helplink toolbuild. And for the version 1.0, we used Thaw, and then we migrated to dry CLI because it allowed us to have a slightly better. We could have made the commands read better, basically, because it's easier to do complicated stuff there compared to Thaw. And we are also using TTY Toolkit. We are not using their command line runner, but we are using a lot of tools from them, like Progress Boss and everything. It's really great. You should really try this out. So the tool was very simple at the beginning. We just copy-pasted stuff from the documentation and gave them nice names, but it started growing. We started extending it. We started adding more logic there. We started adding some automated fixes for the common problems. And it kind of grew pretty nicely. This is from the latest version. I actually ran this, made this screenshot like an hour ago, I guess. And these are not all commands because, as you can see, it also has subcommands. So we can do a lot of stuff with this. And we also have support for just starting stuff. And you can see that there are some extra options that you can do. We can make it easier to run a profiler. We can run it with like a production version, I believe. Oh, sorry, it's not here yet. Yeah, but basically we can like do a lot of nice stuff. And we also support frontend, and our frontend uses both Webpack and Expo, so we have to support both regular JavaScript and also native. So we also have a lot of nice scripting to make sure that all of that works properly. So before the helplink toolbuild, it was a massive pain in the ass to actually work with that stuff. Like manually copying those commands was horrible. Front-end developers had no idea how to actually run Rails commands, so they needed constant help. Back-end developers had no idea how to run JavaScript commands, so they needed constant help as well. And after the tool build, like all the commands now, they have a nice description. There is a built-in documentation because dry CLI actually like it makes it very easy to add documentation to your command line tool. It actually tries to talk you into doing that all the time. Also, because of the recovery of the most common issues, we no longer have to worry about front-end developers not understanding what a database migration is, or back-end developers not understanding that they need to install the node modules again because there was some update. And as a bonus, because we moved all the handling and all this logic, we were able to actually run our end-to-end test as well using a test Rails server that is running on the CI. And it basically reuses 90% of what we are already doing for the local development. And this way we can have our end-to-end tests hit the real API server even with the front-end applications. So time recovered, money saved, HOTO. I'm not gonna do an advertisement here. So build your own internal command line tools, save your time, save your team time. It's gonna be great. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm highly competitive person. If you are too, this is a talk for you. So I always wondered, like whenever I want to be the best in the world or the top best. So here I want to share some findings around how to get the best in anything you do. And here is a little story, like how to get into the top 6% of the richest people in Poland. Actually, it's not so hard because the 44% of Polish people, according to the research, do not have any savings. So if you have $1 of savings, you are in the top 60% of the richest people. So only 35% of people in Poland have more than 10K of dollars of savings. So, top 30% of the richest people in the world, most of you probably are or will be after this talk. So only 6% of Polish around have more than 25K of savings. So just do it and you will be in the top 6 or at least top 10% of the richest people. So here are my findings. Can we apply that to other fields? Can I be the best in Ruby or in top 10, top 5% in Ruby just by applying such similar steps, simple steps? And actually, yes, you have. So, yeah, whatever. First of all, you can read. You can read technical books. In Poland, average reading is less than one book per year. So if you are reading one technical book per year, yeah, you are actually quite high already. Then if you can stay in the job for a few years, you will already beat majority of junior people. Probably 50% of all developers have less than 2 years of experience. So just beat that and you will be in top 30% of the best people in the world in Ruby. Then start teaching. This is hard, but actually when you teach, you need to understand the topic well. You need to expose yourself to critique. You need to sometimes make a stage as I do right now without preparation. And then it will be really hard. So crossing your boundaries actually pushes you way harder. So this is my also one of the advice. Then meet people smarter than you. But the meeting people smarter than you usually are they have pretty expensive time, so they will not want to talk to you. But if you have a YouTube channel or a podcast or a blog, the story is a little bit different. So yeah, I don't have the image right now because something got wrong. But I heard that in the Jason Harbinger show, and that blew my mind because when you have a podcast, actually people start reaching out to you if they can be guests in your podcast. They are usually smarter than me. So I have opportunity to talk to them, and that blows my mind. Then find a mentor. How many of you have a mentor really in Ruby? Cool. So yeah, you are beating the competition here on Wrocław, and we are all in Wrocław. So attending the conferences is also a step ahead. There are a lot of Rubyists in Poland, and there are not all of them on Ruby conferences. And even if they are, not all of them have mentor, like, seriously. So yeah, these are the steps. I already talked about the experience in the beginning, but yeah, that's my talk. Thank you very much.
All right, so this was prepared as a response to a previous lightning talk, so not a lot of thought put into it. Like, have you ever wanted to write a game, but did not want to do it in Rails, maybe? I did, and I found a framework for writing like roguelikes, and nostalgia hit in, so I decided to have a look at the documentation, and it all looks quite nice. Well, except there's one maybe tiny little problem with that. It's written in Kotlin. So what can we do? Turns out we can do a little trick called JRuby. And I'm gonna just show you. I'm just starting a Ruby file. Admittedly, it's not very fast, especially at boot, but yeah, it booted. The game is called Game Hunter, and you are hunting for gems. So you just have your character, and you walk around the cave, and you are supposed to find these blue gems here, which is not always easy because they are blocked. So you can, set off some bombs. You can collect the gems. Sometimes when you destroy the wall, the new gems show up. So this is just like little, very simple example. I can even show you that it has bugs. So when you actually walk into the fire, you're supposed to die, but you don't. And instead, there's like a quite familiar Ruby output. So it's like, it proves that it's actually Ruby. To prove it even more, I can show you how the files look like. So it uses a concept of entity component system. So we have components, entity set systems, and some other stuff. And also in lib we have like integration with this Kotlin /Java libraries. So yeah, as you can see, by the way, not only I don't test randomness, but I don't test anything here. Maybe this will come in the future. And yeah, so apparently you have to have a QR code now in your presentation. So this is a link to the repository. You can clone it, play around with that, send pull request if you want. Thank you.